Welcome to the deep dive, where we really get into the most important bits and sometimes surprising facts from the sources you send our way. Today, it's a strange one. We're starting somewhere you probably wouldn't expect, your kitchen cabinet. We're going to look at how a simple, everyday spice can become, well, thanks to social media, the center of some really risky, even deadly, online challenges.
That's exactly right. For this deep dive, we're focusing on one trend in particular, the Nutmeg challenge. We're going to unpack it, look at where it came from, which is maybe surprising, the very real dangers, which are frankly terrifying, and maybe most importantly, why it keeps drawing young people in. And just to be clear, everything we're discussing comes straight from the sources provided, giving you, we hope, a clear, factual picture of this really concerning trend.
Okay, so consider this your shortcut, your way to get genuinely up to speed on this specific issue. By the time we're done, you should have a solid handle on what really matters here, understanding how these online trends can have such, well, tangible and sometimes really harsh impacts in the real world. All right, let's get into this. Nutmeg. For most of us, it's, that spice for eggnog or maybe pumpkin pie. But then around 2020, suddenly it blows up on TikTok as this dangerous challenge. How on earth does nutmeg become a viral thing?
It is pretty wild, isn't it, how something so, well, ordinary becomes dangerous. So the nutmeg challenge, it basically involves someone deliberately eating a lot of ground nutmeg. We're talking like 2 to 4 tablespoons, which is roughly 14 to 28 grams. That's a huge amount compared to cooking. They often mix it with water or milk, probably just trying to choke it down because, honestly, it tastes pretty awful in those quantities. The whole idea is to get high from a compound in the nutmeg seed myristica fragrance called myristicin. That's the psychoactive bit.
But why? I mean, it's accessible, sure, but it sounds unpleasant. What's the actual draw for young people?
Well, like you said, accessibility is huge. It's right there. You don't need a dealer. You just need a spice rack. Then there's this perception of it being a cheap legal high. Kind of feels like finding a loophole, maybe. And you absolutely have to consider the timing, 2020, lockdowns, quarantine, lots of boredom, lots of time spent online looking for something, anything different. But the real kicker is social media. Kids film themselves doing it, trying to get reactions, chasing likes, views, shares. That validation feeds the algorithm. The algorithm shows it to more people. And boom, you've got this viral feedback loop.
And you mentioned its origins. It's not like this is the first time people have used nutmeg like this, is it?
Oh, not at all. That's what's quite interesting. If you look back, historically, there are records of nutmeg being used for its psychoactive effects way back, like the 16th century, sometimes even disturbingly in attempts to induce abortions or just for its hallucinogenic properties. So the substance itself isn't new in this context, but this modern version, this challenge that's 100% driven by TikTok's algorithm, it's just this incredibly powerful engine that boosts engagement, likes, shares, how long people watch, and sometimes, maybe unintentionally, that pushes really risky stuff out to millions of young users who might be more susceptible. Which brings us to the really critical part, what actually happens. What are the health risks of eating that much nutmeg? Because we're definitely not talking about a little sprinkle here. Myristicin hits the central nervous system hard. It can cause effects similar to, say, LSD or other hallucinogens, but it comes packaged with a whole host of really dangerous side effects. Much less predictable, much more severe. Let's get specific. If someone takes a recreational dose, maybe 5 to 20 grams, that's about 1 to 4 teaspoons, so less than the challenge dose, but still way too much. The consequences can be, well, profound. Neurologically, you can get anything from intense hallucinations, serious confusion, agitation, dizziness, right up to seizures, or even falling into a coma. Cardiovascular effects are serious too. Tachycardia, which is a racing heart rate, palpitations, your blood pressure and flow can become unstable. Incredibly dangerous stuff. Then there's the gut reaction. Severe nausea, vomiting, bad abdominal pain, really dry mouth. And on top of all that, blurred vision, hypothermia, your body temperature dropping, muscle weakness, and in rare cases, tragic ones, organ failure or even death, especially if someone mixes it with other drugs or alcohol.
That's a terrifying list. It just sounds awful. And you mentioned something earlier that seems really important. The effects aren't immediate.
That's right, and it's a really insidious part of this. The symptoms usually don't kick in for maybe 3 to 6 hours after someone eats it, and when they do hit, they can last a long, long time, often 12 to 24 hours of these intense effects. Plus, there's often a prolonged hangover afterwards, just feeling exhausted and unwell. This delay is super dangerous because someone might take a dose, feel nothing for an hour or two, and think, oh, it didn't work, or I didn't take enough.
Do they take more?
Exactly. They take more thinking they need a bigger dose, and that just massively increases the toxicity and the risk of a really bad outcome. And we have some truly sobering examples from the sources, just heartbreaking stories. There was an 8-year-old child who died after eating just 2 whole nutmeg
Oh
seeds.
my God, 8 years old.
Yeah. And back in 2000, a 13-year-old girl took about 15 to 24 grams and ended up with bizarre behavior, hallucinations, numbness, really scary stuff. More recently, 2019, a 17-year-old boy was hospitalized. He actually snorted a tablespoon of nutmeg,
Snorted it.
snorted it, ended up with severe vomiting, involuntary muscle movements. It shows ingestion isn't the only danger zone here.
It's hardly surprising then, hearing this, that ERs have seen an uptick in these cases, especially among teenagers. So if someone does end up in the ER, or if you suspect someone's overdosed, what's the approach? What do doctors do?
Well, for nutmeg overdose, the treatment is mostly supportive. There isn't like a specific antidote, so it means closely watching their heart and breathing, making sure they stay hydrated. If they have severe symptoms like agitation or seizures, they might give medications like benzodiazepines to manage those. But the absolute first step, if you even suspect an overdose, is to call poison control immediately. In the US, that number is 1-800-222-1222. Don't hesitate, just call.
Okay, stepping back a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the why again, specifically for teens. Why are they seemingly so vulnerable to trying something that sounds, frankly, so awful and is clearly so dangerous?
It really boils down to a mix of adolescent brain development and the power of social media. Teenagers' brains, particularly the prefrontal cortex, that's the part handling judgment, impulse control, thinking through consequences, it's still under construction, basically. This makes them naturally more inclined to take risks, seek novelty, maybe without fully getting the potential downsides.
And social media just pours fuel on that fire.
Pretty much. It creates this environment where participating in challenges, especially risky ones, gets rewarded. You get likes, shares, comments, views. It's this hit of social validation, this visibility that can feel really powerful and override caution.
Plus, there's that perception we talked about. It's just a spice. It feels safer somehow. Less illicit than street drugs because it's legal. It's in the kitchen. Maybe feels more natural, whatever that means in this context.
Mm.
And then they see these videos. Videos promising trippy effects, melting walls, things like that.
Mm.
It must be incredibly tempting for someone looking for an experience without the typical drug stigma.
Exactly. That perceived low risk is a huge factor. And again, that delayed onset plays right into it. They take it, nothing happens immediately. They maybe see others online saying you need more. So they take another dose thinking the first wasn't strong enough. And that's where things can go really, really wrong. It just escalates the danger significantly. Now, trying to stop this has been tough. Health authorities, platforms like TikTok, they've struggled. Back in 2020, poison control centers definitely noted an increase in nutmeg-related calls. Minnesota specifically linked 7 cases directly to TikTok. The FDA also put out warnings, reminding people that even common household stuff can be toxic if you misuse it like this.
Right, and TikTok tries, I suppose. They ban hashtags like hashtag nutmeg challenge. But it seems like whack-a-mole, doesn't it?
Mm.
The videos just reappear under slightly different tags, hashtag nutmeg trip, and they still get millions of views. So is it fair to put all the blame on the platforms? Or something bigger going on?
That's a great point. TikTok has this huge safety team, like 40,000 people, but the criticism is that their moderation is mostly reactive. They're chasing trends after they've already spread like wildfire. People are calling for more proactive stuff, things like better AI filters to catch this content before it goes viral, not just after harm is done, maybe stricter rules for influencers, and definitely better partnerships with public health groups to get accurate info out there faster. It's definitely a shared responsibility, but the platforms, with their massive reach and tech, they have a huge role to play, no question.
So, given that these trends keep popping up and responsibility is shared, how do we actually protect young people? What does real prevention look like? It sounds like it needs to come from multiple angles.
Absolutely. Parents are like the first line of defense. Education is huge. Talking openly about the real dangers of misusing nutmeg, making it clear. Tiny amounts for cooking, fine. Trying to get high, extremely toxic. Monitoring social media activity is also part of it. There are tools out there, like PureSight is one example mentioned, that can help alert parents to risky content or behaviors. And maybe, obviously, securing stuff around the house, spices, medications, treat them like anything else potentially harmful. But maybe the most important thing is just open communication, creating a space where kids feel safe talking to you without judgment. If they feel they can come to you if they or a friend are thinking about something risky, that's invaluable. And of course, modeling good behavior yourself, not getting caught up in silly or harmful trends. And it goes beyond parents too. Schools can teach digital literacy, how to critically evaluate online stuff, understand how trends work. Doctors and nurses could maybe screen for social media related substance misuse during checkups. Influencers definitely need to step up and promote safety, not risk. Even the companies selling nutmeg could maybe put clearer warnings on labels about the dangers of taking large amounts.
Speaking of knowing what's important and staying informed, if you're like our listener who loves to get smart quickly and thoroughly, you might want to check out Mind Expansion Daily for more great information like this. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Nutmeg Challenge isn't some bizarre one-off, is it? It fits a pattern.
Exactly. It's part of this whole lineage of dangerous social media trends. Think about the Tide Pod challenge or
Ooh.
the Benadryl challenge more recently. They all kind of exploit the same things. Teenage impulsivity, the easy availability of everyday items, and often, sadly, they lead to tragic results. What they also really highlight are these gaps in how platforms are held accountable. Reactive moderation just isn't cutting it when things spread so fast. And it even raises questions about how public health messages are delivered. Sometimes, really loud warnings can backfire, like with the NyQuil chicken thing. The effort to warn people might have actually made more people aware of it and curious. It's a tricky balance.
So the Nutmeg Challenge really is a stark example of social media's darker side, isn't it? Turning something benign, a spice, into something dangerous through viral hype and peer pressure. The potential consequences, hospitalizations, lasting damage, even death, they underscore how urgently we need action. Collaboration seems key. Parents, schools, platforms, influencers, all working together.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you, our listener, to really chew on. Considering how easily everyday items, things just sitting in our homes, can be twisted into dangerous online trends, what are the true ethical responsibilities of these huge social media platforms? And maybe even more fundamentally, how can we actually cultivate critical thinking skills in young people, and maybe all of us, in a world that's just saturated with viral content constantly vying for our attention?